Okay. Hello, my name is B.J. Harvey, the host of this program. And I have with me Tom and Laura McGuire, who are conceded to be here and witnesses to a new sanctuary of hope that's been built in San Antonio, Texas by a very good friend of mine. And his name is?
John Hagee.
John Hagee. He's built a program on homes that will eventually have 300 unwed mothers giving birth down there in San Antonio. And this program is really dedicated to his job and God's allowance to have this done. So congratulations, John. It opens May 1st, and may God bless your home.
Amen.
So let's go to blessing his home to blessing ours.
And John is a tremendous friend to Israel.
Yes, he is.
Unbelievable, well respected, and he had the night to honor Israel that he had, and we, our church, we had a night that was, we had buses come in with dignitaries and politicians and Jewish people come in, and we basically thanked them because the Messiah came through the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We weren't doing it for any other reason but to thank them, ask for forgiveness when we haven't been there for the Jewish people, and bless them. And it was, and it came out of John Hagee. So I want to say that because he is very well respected in Israel, and he loves the Jewish people.
Yeah. A night to honor Israel.
So, sorry to interrupt you there, BJ.
Quite all right.
I don't want you to get mad at me because I know you have a temper. So let's just.
The temper shows. And what we're going to talk about today is the options of abortion. That word abortion is, it gets to me a little bit because it's really called murder. Murder by convenience. Murder by any other name is still murder. And in doing the initiation of this word, it's to hide what really is. Abortion is done by a doctor within so many weeks to almost, or not almost, but by birth. And then it's all of a sudden it's said, can you picture this? The woman is in stirrups, the baby comes out, put on a table, as the lieutenant governor or the governor said in South Carolina, wrapped up, being comfortable, and then the discussion between the doctor and the patient or the mother says, do you want to keep the mother or not? Now, after labor and the painful way of having birth, a natural way, she's going to make a rational decision and an irrational place of doing business. Now, to do that, and she says no, the baby is turned over and then it's put to sleep. That's a nice thing for murder.
They cut the spinal cord at the neck.
At the neck, absolutely. So this program is really dedicated to the people like John Hagee, who created this thing called Sanctuary Hope. Again, where 300 women can have their babies and can have everything else that they need, emotionally, inspirationally, biblically, every which way, counseling that they can have, job, I'm sorry?
Materially.
Materially, everything. That's a city within the city, and I say, God love you, John. Thank you very much for doing what you do. Now we come to another thing. You asked me in the last segment, what do Jews do? And Jewish people, like Christian people, do absolutely nothing when it comes to the church, when it comes to the synagogue. Why? Because they do not want to offend people for the tithing. They don't want to offend people that Oh, I talked about tithing and I made you uncomfortable, or I talked about abortion and made you uncomfortable, and they leave. They're not in the business. What happened to the truth? That I don't know. And I haven't asked every rabbi, and I haven't asked every priest, and I haven't asked any minister. Why don't you do that? It's not for you or me to ask them that. They run their church the way they want to run it. And their board of directors are the ones to ask them that. I can't come from the outside, Tom, and ask them that.
Right.
Now, what is your opinion of it?
I was just curious if you knew more, but it's polls are done, and statistically everybody stays away from it. And when I shared this at a Thursday group, but I was reading about Moses, Aaron. They couldn't go into Moses couldn't go into the promised land because when God told him to speak to the rock because they needed water, he struck the rock twice. And I'm going like, what's up with this? What, God, is he having a bad day? All of a sudden he comes, because they didn't do this thing. But what he's been showing me more and more, that it's time to speak out and how important it is to speak out, because there's a demon, there's a devil, he works in darkness, and he wants to keep everything silent. When people are abused when they're young, it says, you tell anybody, I'll do this to somebody, or I'll kill you, or I'll kill your sister, or I'll do whatever it is. It's always to keep it in the dark. And God works in the light, so it has to come out, and it comes out by speaking. And that's what we're doing, and that's what we're, talking about. Now, I've never heard in a certain church of anything about abortion, and I mentioned it and brought it up. I don't know what the circumstances, but the next week it was brought up twice. So sometimes it's just speaking out to somebody, and all of a sudden you plant that seed that brings this out in the open. And to do that, you got to have courage, and you can't be scared of anything.
Well, does that mean you, to your church, you participate in it? So therefore you have character, you have knowledge, you have acknowledgement of you being there as a donor, as a tither. You have something to say. So the pastor is going to listen to you.
I don't even like to
From an
look at it at
outsider.
that. I look at it as, this is the truth. And you have to be able to, I think especially in the times we're living in, and people have died for their faith. But
You're talking to a Jew about dying for their
that's
faith?
what, as soon as I said that, all of a sudden these images come to me and everything. But I don't care what it is. If it's the truth, it's the truth. If it hurts, it hurts. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize. But I for some reason, want to know what the truth is, because I know at some point we're all going to die. And life goes by really quick. So we're gonna drop dead. We don't know if we have tomorrow. We don't know what we have. So what is your life going to stand for? I've been looking and talking to my wife about it, but I look at all these people, and they had the Motown 60 years last night, and they had that on, and they talked about their lives and, stars, and they were popular and all that. The next generation's not going to know who these people are. The young kids don't know who Lou Gehrig is. They don't know who Joe Namath is. It's all fading. It all goes away. What's your legacy going to be? Is it going to be something that lasts forever? And the only thing that lasts forever is truth. And it comes from the Bible. So what am I going to do? What am I going to waste my time with for whatever time I have left? And I think people need to look, it says you'll get wisdom if you count your days, the Bible says. That's like the only way you'll get wisdom, if you count your days. Now, I already dropped dead playing basketball. I was dead for 3 minutes. And I don't like to keep bringing that up, but that was a fact. So I'm back, so whatever time I have left, I felt this way before. So whatever time I have left, I want to stand up for whatever the truth is. And if you're going to kill me, kill me. Or if you want to fight, we're going to fight. I don't care. Because I got nothing to lose. I know when I die, I'm a sinner, and somebody died for me to save me from my sin, so I'm going to heaven. So let's get it on. Let's do what we got to do, but I'm not going to hold back the truth. Now, I want to do it in love. I want to have compassion. I want to have the Father's heart. And I think that's been missing in the church and in the synagogue. Everything is supposed to be what the heart of God is. God's not out to smash people because they had an abortion. He loves those people. He loves those kids. I think they're instantly taken to heaven. And he really cares about them. And he wants us, as human beings and believers in Yeshua, to have that heart of compassion, understanding, and not to go around beating people up. And that's shown in the movie Unplanned. They had people at the gate and they, you're a murderer, you're this, you're that. That doesn't do anything. It was the one lady who said, can I talk to you? You know, can we have a conversation? You know, and we stopped, it was Easter, and we stopped over some friends, and there was a brother there. I won't get into the whole thing, but I never met him before, and we knew the family for quite a while. And his mother had issues, and he never had a father figure his whole life. Nobody. There was absolutely nobody in his life that was a male figure. And he was sitting there, and one of the other brother-in-laws was sitting next to him, and they started talking, and he said, I roll up my sleeves. I never wear my sleeves down. And he said, I got that because your father always had his sleeves up. And what he used to do was, because he didn't have any role model, he didn't know who he was, he looked at different people that he respected or looked up to, and he would do what they did. But he never really knew who he was and who he was supposed to be. He just did a reflection of other people. And it was amazing to sit there. We had 2 hours sitting with these people, and what was going on, dynamics that were going on, was incredible. And that's the fatherlessness we talked about before, and not having dads around. It goes back to your other question, where the dads in this situation, where the women, and you know, probably the biggest problem we have is the men not being men.
Yes.
They're supposed to be called the priest of the house. They're supposed to be taking their stand, not going out just to get, have sex and get somebody pregnant, being responsible. That goes back to having dads around. This broke down tremendously in the 60s when they started with and then when no-fault divorce came in. And it just dismantled the whole family and having that authority, and there's no fear of authority anymore. They're not scared of the cops, they're not scared of God, they're not scared of anybody. We ran from the cops. Man, we were terrified when we did stuff and run from them. Now they take videos of them and say, I'm going to sue you.
That's true. But Laura, let me ask you the question that you posed for me just in the first segment. And that was, how do you get the girls to open up the book and be responsive to God? Mm-hmm. How do you give them the education? How do you give them the exposure? How do you give them the inspiration to do that? Mm-hmm. And there is another way besides an abortion to come to God. How do they know that? What do we give them? What are the clergy doing that's not correct, or not giving them an invitation, or not allowing them to have the invitation? What are we doing what are we not doing?
I don't necessarily believe that what is the clergy doing incorrectly. I think it's, as a follower of the Messiah, I think it's each one of our individual passion to bring somebody into a relationship. I feel when you speak your experience, your own personal experience with the Lord, mm-hmm. and you tell them your story, whether it be one of pain or rejection, that brings a commonality into someone's life. Gee, I'm going through the same thing, but there's an answer for your pain, because he did this for me, and he'll do the same for you. I don't necessarily sometimes believe that it comes from the pulpit. I think it comes from relationship. And when you draw that person into a relationship with an experience that could be similar, then you can bring them into another deeper level by maybe inviting them to church or inviting them to a Bible study or whatever it is. But I think we live in silence. I think everybody lives in their pain in silence because no one wants to open the door of, I hate to use the trigger word of transparency, but when somebody can meet somebody heart to heart, I think that's what brings the relationship into meeting the Lord.
Well, I think it's, when I said that, it's easier for a woman to talk to a woman. Just picture yourself getting pulled over by a cop. If it's a policewoman, she's not very threatening. But a policeman is very threatening. Why? They both wear the same guns, they both have the same outfit, they both have the same handcuffs, they both have, it's the woman to woman. And in this day and age, it is very difficult for a man to talk to a woman about abortion or about pregnancy because you're liable to overstep your bounds.
That's true. I
And then
agree
you
with
have to
that.
be so physically, mentally awake that you don't say the right, the wrong thing, that you don't come over too flippant, or you don't come over too cute, or you don't come over too legal, because you're not a legal person.
Right.
So you have to, or man to a woman talking about abortion, or talking about pregnancy, or talking about sex. I don't think that goes too far
I agree
in
with
this
that.
day and age.
But you can, as a man, let's say a man came to you and said, geez, you know, I'm in a situation where my girlfriend is pregnant, or I'm not, you know, you have that opportunity, man to man,
Yes.
to maybe have them look at the situation, which hopefully would morph into him saying, hey, I'm here for you, I want this baby with you. So I understand what you're saying, man to woman, but you do have that opportunity if indeed a man opened up to you.
Some of them won't, because
Yeah.
either they're afraid of what you're going to say, either the man exposes his weakness to another man, which he won't do or shouldn't do.
Yeah, I could never understand
And
that.
it's a very difficult situation to talk about something as personal as this,
Right.
having a baby or doing away with a baby. There is no yes or no.
Right.
It's the person feeling of fear, I think, of recrimination of the Lord, of what you think about me, of what you think about the woman that's going to give birth. He doesn't want to say her name. He doesn't want to. Is it necessary? I don't think so. But by the same token, I don't want that woman to go to an aborted mill.
Well, that, all right, let me just pose this.
Yes, ma'am.
I think before all of that, we are now in the year 2019, where people's conscience, it's like it's seared. There isn't any, at this point, very little feeling of conviction in someone nowadays. Everything's disposable. People are disposable. Babies are disposable. If you don't like this material thing, then you go buy a different one or a newer one. Everything's disposable. So before you even go down that avenue, you have to look at, why are we in a society at this point where, if you so choose, man or woman, to say, I don't want this baby, there doesn't seem to be any immediate feeling of conviction. It's black and white. It's, I don't want this, therefore get rid of it. I'm not saying they don't, as time goes on, they might have more of a, sorrow, but at that immediate moment, we're in a society where you just do what you want to do.
So you are in concurrence with me when a woman is there on the table,
Right.
and doctors are asking, "Do you want this or not?" You're saying the same thing that I am, only it's more terse, I guess, that I say that than you do.
Right,
So you
right.
say it's softer. So you're in conjunction with me, and then
Yes.
what do we do with the man? That's what I'm saying. There must be a way for the clergy to operate with the, tell me about your problem.
The thing that I wrote down here, and I think it goes to the answers all the questions, and it's where this began to escalate, and that's family. And the family's broken down. There's no father and mother. God set it up to have a father and mother. The father's supposed to be the priest of the house. So we talk about other people stepping in, and that's one of the problems. They're expecting the police to bring their kids up. They're expecting the government to bring their... And no, we have to go back, and it's going to be like turning a large ship at sea. It doesn't turn quickly, but to recognize it, speak into the fact, and that's what we do in the prison. We go in with the kids. We want to teach them to take responsibility, to be men. Men isn't going out and see how much sex you could have with a bunch of people. Man is getting a job and being there and being a dad and being a husband and loving the wife and doing all that. We've gotten away from it. The government's going against it with the checks because you can't have a man around. So there's a lot of dynamics that are going on here. But in order to get this back, and this is what we speak into all the time, is you guys need to be men, but they don't know what a man is because they didn't have a dad as a role model, so they're looking at whatever's out there.
Correct.
So if some guy's rolling up his sleeves like I just talked about, I'll do that. Well, you see what's on the TV and the garbage that's on there, and it's unbelievable, so they go and emulate, or they go to gangs, which are you know, a surrogate family. And then, you know, just we went to lunch in New Haven, and we're driving on State Street, and all of a sudden 2 cops go by. They had been doing 90. And it shook me. And I went, wow, something bad is. We got an email from my daughter after. A 17-year-old got shot. He's in critical condition. He went to Yale. We're 2 blocks from where we were. And these guys are shooting each other up. There's no dad around, none of them. I'm speaking from absolute facts. Most of the guys in prison didn't have dads. If you go back and look at all the 9 out of 11 mass shooters didn't have fathers. So the question is, we've got to speak to this. We've got to address it. It needs to be done from the top down. And we can't keep looking for other people. Yes, we all have to step in. Clergy has to step in. Neighbors have to step in. You know, other family members have to step in, but you still got to address the issue of recognizing where the problem is and then speaking to it, trying to get men to be men and come back and turn the family around.
All right, so the question is, where did it all go wrong? When did men stop taking responsibility for the family? When did that?
In the 1960s.
Okay, expand on that.
Well, went back to, you know, the wars was devastating to families, but the kids still held it together. But then when a lot of men came home because of post-traumatic stress, this is why this thing keeps growing, and didn't deal with it, didn't deal with the trauma, and a lot of them were alcoholics. So you're dealing with a man maybe around, but he's not around because he's got his alcohol because he's dealing with trauma. So it does go back to the wars. Then you go to the 60s and the sexual revolution and the drugs and all that, which we're going through now, making marijuana legal.
Well, let me put
Go
it
ahead.
another way. We can't straighten out the past. The past is the past is the past.
Right.
Today, a woman has to make a decision on what she's going to do. And today, she has to be yes or no. I don't care what happened 40 years ago. It's not relevant to today. She has to make a decision today, in the next 3 minutes. That's the part I'm trying to talk about. And that's what John is talking about. That's why he has this sanctuary of hope. He built this out of everybody's money that he asked to build and help build, and he formulated this town. It's really a town, 85 acres. Now this is pretty big.
Yeah.
And it started here to stop the abortion or stop the murder. Where else can we do this?
Jim Baker's done something for that, and you know, this will probably escalate. Just again, it's by speaking out and showing this, so when everybody sees what he's doing and recognizing the fact, and there's a big movement going on now about abortion. It's huge. It's all over. It's taken on a life finally of its own. So by you talking about it, by John talking about it on his program, other people seeing it, they'll probably start to say, hey, what if we do something? What if just one person's opened up? If everybody opened up their house to one person, you don't have to build a building. You find out somebody's going through something, say, listen, why don't you have the baby? I'll help you. Come live with us for a while.
Well, that won't happen, but it's close. It's a start.
You know, there's something to be said. Mentors of ours said once, Satan always overplays his hand and is quite obvious. So here we are today with legal abortion to, you know, the 9th month. After birth, you can murder. I think it's coming to a point now where people are finally opening up their eyes, where they're talking about it, where they're starting to look at it differently and say, wait a minute. So it's almost like Satan is overplaying the hand now, where it's just murder.
Yes.
And
I think
people
she's exactly right.
are
It's
starting to
so
say,
crazy.
wait a minute. Finally people are talking about it. And hopefully something will change.
Well, all I do in our conversation is make people aware that are watching this show.
That's exactly right.
That the word abortion is the word murder. And to have people think about coming to God first. Because we say, if you come to God first, what? Everything happens for the best.
He works out all things for good for those who love him,
That's
called
right.
according to his
Amen.
purpose.
Try to finish this by, say, going to God, go to your church,
Yeah,
go to your synagogue,
right.
go
And
to
they'll
a
show up.
house of worship, anywhere you want to go to worship the Lord that gave you birth and to give birth to others. And
Yes.
I ask you this through your Bible. If you don't have a Bible, please give us the information and we'll send you a Bible. The Bible, by the way, you gave me, I read every day. Every day. And I can see, oh, wrong day, I have to read more fast.
I think it's great. That's
And so we say thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for viewing our program. Shalom.
Shalom.